Joining me now is writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Esther, the Invictus Games has been back in the news this week and it has been quite eventful. What's the latest?
So there are a few things going on with the Invictus Games. Probably most importantly is the resignation of the Invictus Games CEO Dominic Reid, who's been in the position for basically 10 years since the inception of the Invictus Games. He released a statement which Prince Harry then parried with another statement thanking him for all his service. Dominic Reid is a former soldier, so this is something that's very close to his heart. And he really sort of took the Invictus Games from where it was to where it is now. The curious thing is the fact that he didn't stay to see through the Winter Games, which was actually his idea, and which was the reason why you saw Prince Harry promoting it in Canada. And he did that in a short interview with Good Morning America, where he sort of avoided questions about his family that I'm sure he was expecting. So there are many questions as to why he's decided to resign now. We know that this is just off the back of the fact that Prince Harry accepted the Pat Tillman Award, controversially accepted that award from the ESPYs, even though the soldier that this award was sort of dedicated to, his mother, said that there were more deserving people than Prince Harry, but Prince Harry still chose to accept the award. Now there's speculation as to whether this had anything to do with the former CEO's decision to step down. But so far, we haven't seen any indication of that. I think he just thinks it's his time, and I suspect there are more personal reasons behind that. But there's a bit of turmoil going on there because now they have to find a new CEO to lead it. There's also questions about who's going to win the bid for the Invictus Games for 2027. It's now between Birmingham and Washington, D.C. We know that Birmingham City Council has had some financial troubles and are about £1 billion in debt. However, they have struck a new deal, a sort of interesting partnership that means that the city actually has no sort of financial input into the games. So they're really hoping that Birmingham Birmingham is really hoping that they will win the bid. But it's kind of an America versus UK sort of competition now going to see who will host the next Invictus Games. But obviously all this is in the backdrop of kind of logistical issues of finding a new person to chair the Invictus Games and to see it through its new decade, as the departing CEO said.
Now, still on Harry, and we understand that he's apparently cancelled the film rights to Spare. Is this the case? And if so, do we know why it's happened?
So there are allegations that he is not interested in pursuing a film for Spare. So we know that he does own the film rights and he hasn't actually sold it on to any independent media company. So that is under wraps if anything is going on there. But I'm sure the palace is breathing a sigh of relief because after the bombshell of Spare, which became the fastest selling non-fiction book upon its release, I don't think that the royal family wants any more headache of seeing how they can prolong this whole saga. And I think Harry and Meghan have made it clear that they want to sort of move on from the grievance parade about the royal family. The question is how they're moving on. I don't think they've had a particularly inspiring start and they're still trying to find their feet. But from what I'm hearing, Prince Harry has no intention of turning Spare into a film or some sort of series. It would actually be quite horrifying because then we'd have to figure out who would play each character, which would be another whole drama that I don't think anyone is interested in.
And off the back of all that, and despite all that has happened, a report this week that Meghan doesn't understand why people don't admire her. It doesn't come as a total surprise to me, Esther.
Well, I don't know. I do think there's a lack of self-awareness on the couple's part. I don't know if it goes as deep as Meghan wondering why people don't admire her, because that would be extremely narcissistic. But I think actually the couple understanding why they haven't endeared themselves to the public is still a bit of an enigma to them. And part of that is because of where they live, who they surround themselves with, understanding their dynamics. I think they think it's more of just a binary, we've left the royal family and therefore the media and everyone else has declared war against us and sees us as traitors, as opposed to kind of looking at their own conduct. I do think there was some cultural clashes with Meghan just entering the royal family in the first place, and I think the way that they did it didn't endear themselves neither to the sort of royal staff, the household, or the country more broadly. I think it's something that they had to kind of embed themselves into and really take their time with it. They had to invest themselves in the time and their life into being active working members of the royal family, and I don't think that's something that they were willing to do, at least not with the terms that they felt were presented to them. So I still think that there is this kind of prolonging bitterness about how they feel like they've been treated in the royal family, their time within and and outside the royal family. But I don't know if I'd go as far as Meghan saying she doesn't know why people don't admire her. I think the couple are now on some sort of journey to just redefine their paths. I think one thing that does it sort of annoy the couple is the fact that there's this insistence that everyone thought they were leaving just so they can have a private life and be private citizens and do things under the radar, when actually what they really wanted to do was still remain in the spotlight, just kind of craft their media image according to how they saw they wanted to be represented. But unfortunately, that's not how things always work out. You actually have to give to then receive. You can't expect the media to kind of follow what you expect them to do. You have to actually work and have some skin in the game before you can get the accolades and the sort of goodwill, as I would put it, as they wanted.
But there's also been a couple of really quite sensational headlines this week. First, a report that Harry is holding Meghan back from a confrontation with Charles. Now, is there anything to this?
This is, again, pure speculation. We don't have any concrete evidence of this. I think it's just people assuming that there's still high levels of bad blood between the Sussexes and the royal family. What we do know is that the king has expressed interest in seeing his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, in the flesh, because apparently their interactions have been restricted to FaceTime. And this is an arrangement that apparently their parents, the Sussexes, have been amenable to, but it hasn't materialized because of Prince Harry's ongoing battle with the Home Office and the removal of him and his family's automatic right to armed security in the UK that they've offered to pay for. But there's so many implications around, whether the police can be for hire for people that feel high status enough to have that privilege. I'm not necessarily sure about the nature of the relationship between the king and Meghan. As far as public information is concerned, she's always spoken well of the king, even when she accused members of the royal family of alleged racism, which was a whole saga that was bunked and debunked and went on for a long time. She always said that the king and the queen, the late queen, treated her well, and that they were not they shouldn't have been in the line of fire, even though they didn't go as far as clarifying who they meant, which I thought was quite childish. And so again, this is just pure speculation. We don't actually have anything concrete to go off with regards to the nature of the relationship between the king and Meghan, but we do know that there is some tension around him seeing his grandchildren and Harry's ongoing case with the Home Office.
Now, I've got about a minute left. The other headline was Meghan was described by a royal commentator as being an agent of poison. Bit over the top, don't you think?
It's quite dramatic. I mean, she's been treated like the Yoko Ono of the royal family. I think where she's described as poisonous, I think is quite dramatic and unnecessary. I do think, though, there are clashes both culturally and in terms of attitudes towards the royal family, towards what the institution looks like and how anyone entering the institution, what their role would be. I do think that Meghan had a very kind of my way or the highway sort of approach. She had a very American kind of forceful approach. She thought she'd just get in and revolutionize the institution, and I don't think that was the case at all. And I don't think it can all be blamed on her. I actually think most of the blame, if you would put it that way, should be on Harry, who I don't think was very well educated in how to actually bring Meghan into the institution. I thought he was very forceful. I thought he had a very negative attitude to and assumptions about how Meghan was being integrated into the royal family. And I think that's probably what precipitated this acrimonious split. I don't necessarily think Meghan is an agent of evil. I just don't think she was a good fit for the royal family to begin with, because I don't think she had the right attitude. And I think it was worsened by Harry's insistence of doing things their way and constantly feeling ostracized or not getting his way.
Esther Krakue, as always, thank you for joining us and thank you for your insights.